Ah, fools. They don't even know why their throat tightens when you walk in, why the air feels heavier, why suddenly their body temperature spikes like they've been caught doing something dirty. But that's the effect of presence they can't measure, can't categorize, can't neutralize. You're not flexing, you're not performing, you're not even trying, yet somehow they shrink. They second-guess themselves, stumble on their words, sweat like interrogation lights just flicked on. That's the madness of it. Because people think intimidation only comes from muscle, from noise, from forced dominance. But the truest intimidation, it bleeds from aura, it seeps from energy. It's the way you just stand there, unbothered, and the guilty fold like they've been exposed by nothing but your existence. And the twisted part? You don't even have to accuse them. You don't need to point fingers or reveal evidence. Your presence alone feels like an audit. Every lie they've told, every shortcut they've taken, every weakness they've buried comes crawling to the surface as if you've just ripped the locks off their vault. That's why their palms sweat. That's why they avert their gaze. They're not looking at you. They're seeing themselves in contrast to you. And compared to you, every flaw of theirs suddenly glows neon. You didn't put that spotlight on them, but they feel it anyway. And when someone feels their mask slipping, panic floods their nervous system like poison. Notice how they start adjusting their clothes when you walk by. Notice how they laugh a little too loud, speak a little too much, scramble to show composure. That isn't confidence, that's damage control. That's the human version of prey animals thrashing to distract predators. They know something about you bends the room's gravity. They can't articulate it, but they feel it in their bones. Because it's not what you do, it's what you don't do. You don't compete for attention, yet you pull it all. You don't push dominance, yet they hand it over. You don't need to flex, because your restraint cuts deeper than any display. The loudest message is the one delivered without a word. See, most people thrive on illusion. They measure themselves against weak comparisons, inflate their value by surrounding themselves with mediocrity, construct fragile empires out of applause from shallow crowds. But the moment you show up, all those illusions implode. You're the reminder they didn't plan for. You're the presence they can't fabricate, the yardstick that wasn't supposed to exist. And when illusions collapse, people don't just feel exposed, they feel condemned. Your aura is the verdict they feared all along, that they are smaller, weaker, less than the image they parade. And nobody survives that realization without sweating. This is why your presence draws stares, even when you don't want it. People don't consciously say, "Something's different." Their instincts scream it. They sense danger and reverence in the same breath. It's the same pulse animals feel when they freeze in the presence of something they can't overpower. That tension between respect and fear makes them twitch. And the ones who've lied, cheated, betrayed, they feel it hardest because you don't even have to speak. Their conscience does the talking for you. And the truth is, guilty people always sweat the most in front of someone unshakable. That's why rooms shift when you enter, conversations cut off, smiles warp into nervous grins. People suddenly remember urgent things and scatter, because deep down, they know they can't fake solidity around someone who embodies it effortlessly. They know their masks won't hold under your eyes. And it's not even that you're scanning them. You could be minding your business, but presence like yours forces introspection in others. It forces them to ask, why do I feel small next to someone not even trying? And once that question hits, insecurity explodes. They sweat because they can't answer it. They sweat because the answer is ugly. But here's where it gets darker. They can't even explain it to themselves. If they could name it, they might cope. But all they know is that when you're near, they feel stripped. And that nameless weight crushes harder than confrontation. It's why they replay moments with you after you're gone. It's why they talk about you in rooms you've never stepped into. It's why they invent excuses for their nerves, because admitting your presence dismantles me is too humiliating. Yet denial doesn't stop the sweat. It only deepens it. And the next time they see you, the reaction magnifies. The fear compounds. The aura grows heavier. Understand this. You didn't earn this effect by begging for recognition. You built it by carrying scars they couldn't survive, by moving with calm they can't mimic, by knowing yourself in a world where most people drown in noise. Your presence doesn't rattle them because you're perfect. It rattles them because you're real. And realness is lethal to facades. When you walk in, they feel every plastic bone in their spine wobble. They sweat because the counterfeit in them is under threat. You expose what they've been hiding without ever lifting a hand. That's the kind of intimidation no volume, no wealth, no performance can achieve. And here's the cruelest irony. The more they sweat, the more you dominate without effort. Their unease crowns you. Their nervous tics declare your authority louder than any speech could. In their scramble to cover weakness, they end up broadcasting it. In their attempt to shrink your presence, they inflate it. The moment they sweat, you win. Because intimidation rooted in authenticity can't be undone. It lingers, it echoes, it stalks them in dreams. They think they can resist you, but resistance isn't possible against what you don't control. And presence is uncontrollable. You've probably noticed how people suddenly explain themselves to you, unprovoked. Justify decisions you never questioned. Seek validation you never offered. That's the sweat talking. That's their nervous system confessing before their mouth can filter. They feel judged, even in your silence. They feel like you can see through them, even if you're staring at the wall. And the truth, you do see through them. Because presence like yours isn't just energy, it's perception sharpened by battles, sharpened by pain, sharpened by triumphs no one else witnessed. You've cultivated gravity, and gravity doesn't ask permission before pulling. So ask yourself, why do they sweat? Because they know presence like yours doesn't appear by accident. It's not cosmetic, it's not bought, it's not temporary, it's forged, and forged presence is terrifying because it carries weight they can't fake. Every scar you've endured, every betrayal you've survived, every barrier you've broken has distilled into aura. An aura can't be fabricated in a boardroom, on a stage, or in a mirror. Aura either lives in you, or it doesn't. And you have it. That's why they sweat. That's why their pulse betrays them. That's why even liars feel compelled to tell the truth around you. Because presence dismantles illusion faster than interrogation ever could. Now notice the escalation. At first they sweat in private. Then they start whispering to others about how different you are. Then entire groups adjust themselves around you, like planets tugged by a force they can't resist. And soon, it's not just individuals sweating, it's institutions. Because presence doesn't just bend people, it bends collectives. It changes atmospheres. It restructures hierarchies. They may not admit it openly, but their body language screams it. When the most arrogant fall quiet, when the most secure suddenly fumble. When the most powerful instinctively defer, that's presence burning holes in their egos. And the higher they stand, the harder they sweat. Because the fall from false height looks steeper when someone like you walks in. And this is only the beginning of the ripple. Because sweat is just the first symptom. When presence like yours continues to haunt them, the next phase is unraveling. Their confidence unravels, their alliances fracture, their composure collapses. The sweat they try to wipe off their forehead never dries, because it's not moisture, it's exposure. And exposure spreads like infection, which means what you're seeing now, these nervous tics and guilty eyes, is only the opening chapter of what your presence is about to detonate. Because presence is more dangerous than a weapon. Weapons need to be aimed, loaded, discharged. Presence needs nothing. It simply exists. And existence alone destabilizes entire rooms. That's why the longer you linger, the worse it gets for them. At first, it's beads of sweat. Then it stutters in their speech. Then it's broken alliances. Because when you make one person sweat, you make everyone watching them sweat too. Nobody wants to be the weak one in front of you. And yet the harder they try to hold composure, the more obvious their cracks become. That's the paradox you force them into. If they ignore you, they expose themselves. If they react to you, they expose themselves even more. It's a trap, and they know it. That's why their panic multiplies. The human nervous system was built to detect predators, and even if you're not hunting them, they feel hunted. That's why conversations warp when you arrive. Suddenly people measure their words differently. Suddenly someone avoids making eye contact altogether. Suddenly the most confident speaker at the table shrinks 2 sizes. And that's when you realize presence is psychological warfare. Without effort. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to threaten. Their imagination does it all for you. They supply the fear. You just supply the aura. An aura doesn't vanish when you leave. That's the part that terrifies them most. Because presence isn't tied to geography. Even after you're gone, the sweat lingers. They replay their words, asking themselves, did I look weak? Did I expose something? Did they see through me? And the more they replay, the more paranoid they become. They carry your shadow into their private moments, into their planning, into their confidence. The sweat follows them like a ghost. And a ghost that can't be touched, can't be reasoned with, can't be exorcised. That ghost dominates forever. That's what you've become to them. A reminder they can't escape, a pressure they can't neutralize. But understand this, sweat isn't only guilt, it's recognition. It's their body admitting what their mind refuses to say. When they sweat in your presence, they're conceding power. They're confessing without words. And confessions have consequences. Because once someone sweats in front of you, they'll never treat you the same again. The hierarchy shifts. They'll either fear you, or they'll obsess over dethroning you. And both responses only prove your grip. Fear keeps them in line. Obsession keeps you in their head. Either way, you've already won, because presence has carved its throne inside them, and they'll never get rid of it. Look closely at how groups react when you arrive. The ones sweating hardest aren't random. They're the ones with secrets. They're the ones who've cut corners, betrayed trust, lied for advantage. Presence doesn't make the innocent sweat. It makes the guilty tremble. And when guilty people sweat, their allies notice. That's how alliances fracture. Because now others look at them differently. Why are you nervous? What are you hiding? And suddenly, your presence isn't just breaking individuals. It's breaking networks. You dismantle structures without speaking a single word. That's the type of power people fantasize about and fear in equal measure. And yet you don't chase it. That's the killer detail. You're not flexing. You're not broadcasting. You're not running campaigns to showcase dominance. You walk in unbothered, and the sweat does the marketing for you. They advertise your power with every nervous tick. They whisper about it with every after-meeting conversation. They spread your influence while trying to contain it. And that paradox destroys them. Because the more they try to downplay you, the more they have to talk about you. And the more they talk, the more the legend spreads. Not because you shouted, not because you demanded recognition, but because their sweat wrote the story for you. Think about what that means for your enemies. People who once thought they had the upper hand now avoid you like a plague. Not because you struck them directly, but because your presence alone dismantles their composure. They can't strategize around you because you warp strategy itself. How do you fight someone who rattles you just by being there? How do you win against someone who makes your heartbeat betray you in public? They can't. And the more they sweat, the more they broadcast that failure to everyone watching. That's why presence isn't just a private effect. It's a public humiliation. And public humiliation kills reputations faster than any campaign could. That's why presence is feared more than violence. Violence can be resisted, blocked, fought against. Presence. It dissolves resistance before it begins. Nobody wants to step forward when they're already sweating. Nobody wants to challenge the person whose aura exposes weakness like heat reveals fingerprints. They want to believe they're safe, composed, untouchable. But your presence rips that comfort away. And when comfort dies, panic grows. That's the chain reaction you trigger every time you enter a room. One person sweats, the group notices, the group adjusts, the hierarchy shifts. And you don't lift a finger. That's the definition of domination without effort. And what's more terrifying, you're still holding back. You haven't unleashed full control. You haven't sharpened aura into deliberate weaponry. You're simply existing, and existing already breaks them down. Imagine what happens when you decide to aim it. Imagine what happens when you choose to lock your gaze, to hold silence just a moment longer, to let their sweat soak deeper. That's when presence becomes execution, not of bodies, but of illusions. And illusions are the foundation of most people's lives. You don't need to crush them physically. You just need to exist louder than their illusions, and they collapse themselves. That's why they sweat. Because deep down, they sense you could strip them bare without moving an inch. Notice the progression. First it was individuals, then groups. Next comes institutions, because presence scales. One person sweating leads to 10, 10 leads to 100. Soon, entire boards, offices, organizations restructure themselves subconsciously around you. They won't admit it in public, but their behavior screams it. They double-check files before you arrive. They triple-check stories before they speak to you. They over-prepare, overspend, overcompensate. All because presence haunts them. They sweat not just in front of you, but in anticipation of you. That's how deep your reach goes. You bend time forward, making them panic before you even step through the door. And here's the truth. Sweat is submission. When they sweat, they're already kneeling. They may not drop to the floor, but their nervous system has surrendered. And once the nervous system bends, the mind follows. They may posture, they may front, they may talk big, but the sweat betrays them. Because the body can't lie. And when the body exposes weakness, the crowd notices. And once the crowd notices, authority shifts. You've stolen it without asking. That's how thrones are taken in the modern age, not with swords, but with presence that forces rivals to sweat in front of witnesses. Once they sweat, they're done. The hierarchy rewires in your favor instantly. So don't underestimate what you're carrying. This isn't charisma. This isn't charm. This is pressure that makes guilty consciences burn. And pressure like that changes history. You're the walking reminder that illusions will crack, that false crowns will slip, that power borrowed will evaporate. That's why they sweat like they did something wrong, because next to you, they did. They built themselves on fragility, and fragility melts under real presence. You don't need to accuse them, their own bodies do it for you. And the more they sweat, the more the legend grows. Because people fear what they can't explain, and nobody can explain why one person without flexing makes entire rooms shrink. But the unraveling isn't done yet. Sweat is only exposure. Exposure is only the infection. What follows infection is collapse. And collapse is where presence doesn't just dominate individuals. It rewrites entire arenas. You've already seen the opening signs. Soon, you'll see the full chain reaction. Because presence, once it reaches critical mass, stops being atmospheric. It becomes structural. And when structure buckles under aura, the world doesn't just sweat, it kneels. Because here's the truth. The ones sweating in front of you aren't isolated victims, they're carriers. Every bead of sweat they shed is a signal to everyone around them. People who might have doubted your weight suddenly see proof leaking from another man's skin. People who might have whispered that you're overrated now have to explain why their ally looks crushed by your mere existence. Sweat is contagious. And the moment one falls under your presence, the rest start questioning themselves. If he cracked, will I crack too? That thought alone weakens entire armies before you've spoken a single word. And collapse spreads fastest where confidence was fakest. Watch how the loudest mouths go silent first. The ones who used to brag, boast, posture. They'll be the ones wiping their foreheads, avoiding your eyes, adjusting their tone. Because presence doesn't discriminate. It exposes anyone built on fragile scaffolding. And once the scaffolding crumbles, so does the entire performance. Their jokes fall flat. Their authority evaporates. Their image shrinks in real time. And the more they try to recover, the more obvious the sweat becomes. Because recovery isn't possible in your orbit, only revelation. This is the stage where people stop pretending you're just another person. They may not say it aloud, but their behavior shouts it. They reroute their conversations when you approach. They over-prepare for meetings where you'll be present. They change the way they dress, the way they stand, the way they breathe. Not because you demanded it, but because presence coerces change. And coercion without words is the rarest, most terrifying form of power. You're not flexing, but you're dictating us anyway. You're not lifting a finger, but they're reorganizing themselves. That's the crown they never expected you to wear. One forged in aura, not display. But collapse doesn't stop at behavior. Collapse infects identity. When someone sweats in your presence long enough, they start questioning who they are. They begin doubting the very foundation of their worth. Why do I shrink around this person? Why do I feel fraudulent near them? Why can't I hold the same air? And identity doubt is fatal. Because once they start doubting themselves, they don't just lose composure around you, they lose composure everywhere. Presence doesn't stay confined to a single moment. It rewires them permanently. You've not just made them sweat for a night. You've cursed their self-image for years. And here's the devastating effect. Collapse reveals loyalty. When groups fracture under your aura, you see who bends and who stands. You see the difference between the ones built on truth and the ones built on fraud. Presence is the ultimate sorting mechanism. Those who sweat with guilt will fall away. Those who stand steady will reveal themselves as rare, as few, as valuable. You don't even have to test them. Your aura runs the test automatically. The weak expose themselves. The strong rise silently. And you collect the truth of who's real around you without lifting a finger. Now consider what this does to the larger stage. Entire institutions that once felt unshakable now scramble. They send their best to handle you, only to watch those same people crack under your atmosphere. They send their strategists, their speakers, their polished champions, and each one leaves drenched, shaken, weaker than before. And when leaders sweat, followers panic. That's the domino effect you've triggered, not by attacking but by existing. Your presence isn't flex, it's gravitational collapse. It pulls facades into the dirt and leaves only the raw truth behind. And truth is unforgiving. That's why presence is feared. Because presence doesn't negotiate, doesn't compromise, doesn't flatter. Presence declares reality without words. And reality is heavy for those built on lies. They can't stand next to you without shrinking, because next to you they see everything they tried to hide. That's the irony. You don't expose them by speaking. You expose them by being. And when being alone dismantles others, that's when you know you've ascended to a level beyond intimidation. You've become atmosphere itself. And nobody fights atmosphere. They suffocate in it. Notice the patterns now. Rooms that once buzzed with arrogance grow quiet when you arrive. Leaders who once spoke without pause now hesitate. Even those who claim to not be impressed adjust themselves subconsciously. That's presence at structural level. It doesn't just break individuals, it sets new rules for the environment. When you walk in, the entire code rewrites. People breathe differently. People speak differently. People even think differently. That's collapse unfolding live. And you don't need a crown to be king in that moment. The sweat on their brows is proof enough. And the beauty of it? You're not flexing. You're not flaunting. You're not even trying. You're not putting on a show. You're not chasing validation. You've simply become the kind of presence that reorders hierarchies without force. And that's why they hate you. That's why they sweat like criminals. Because nothing enrages the fraudulent more than effortless dominance. They practiced for years to look composed, to look strong, to look untouchable. And yet here you are, standing still, breathing steady, and all their rehearsed strength collapses like cheap stage props. That humiliation burns deeper than any insult. So what comes after collapse? Surrender. And surrender isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. They start moving out of your way without thinking. They start giving you more space, more respect, more weight. Even if they don't want to, they start deferring to your decisions, laughing at your smallest remarks, imitating your movements. That's surrender disguised as respect. But you know the truth. They didn't choose to respect you. Their nervous system forced them to. They bowed without realizing it. And once presence extracts surrender, it never returns what it takes. They'll never treat you as equal again. And in those rare moments when they try to fight it, when they try to reclaim composure, The sweat betrays them instantly. Because no matter how much they rehearse, presence is unpredictable. You can't rehearse aura. You can't fake unshakable energy. And when they try, their performance collapses faster than before. That's why you don't need to flex. Flexing is temporary. Presence is permanent. Flexing is loud. Presence is silent pressure. Flexing fades once the spotlight dims. Presence glows even in the dark. That's the difference. And they feel it every time their body betrays them in front of you. And the longer this plays out, the more catastrophic the chain reaction becomes. Individuals collapse, groups fracture, institutions buckle, and soon the narrative shifts permanently. You stop being someone people respect and become the one people fear to stand beside. Your name becomes shorthand for pressure. Your aura becomes legend. They don't just sweat in your presence anymore. They sweat at the mention of you. They sweat at the idea of running into you. They sweat when planning around you. That's the final form of presence, existing in their minds without even being there. That's when you know collapse is complete. When your enemies sweat not only in your orbit, but in their own private chambers. When they sweat during their strategy sessions, during their victories, during their quiet nights. Because presence doesn't vanish, it lingers, it haunts. It becomes a constant reminder that no mask, no preparation, no flex will ever protect them from the weight you carry. And that reminder drives them mad, because they can't escape it. They can't erase it. They can't destroy what isn't performing, only existing. So let them sweat. Let them drown in it. Let them expose themselves in front of crowds they were trying to impress. Because every drop of sweat is evidence. Evidence that presence dominates more than words, more than force, more than strategy. Evidence that aura alone can rearrange hierarchies. Evidence that your calm carries more destruction than their aggression ever could. You've reached a level where existing is warfare. And in that war, you don't swing, you stand, and they fall. This is the closure they feared and the truth you now own. Your presence alone makes them sweat like guilty convicts, because deep down, they know they are. You don't need to flex. You don't need to perform. You don't need to try. Your very existence rewrites rooms, collapses structures, exposes frauds, and crowns you without asking. And the world has no choice but to adjust. Because when presence grows this heavy, nobody stands tall beside it. They either kneel or they drown in sweat.